Welcome to Know Your Antiques, a show that highlights antiques and collectibles in the Coulee region and around the area. If you or someone you know has a collection of antiques or a single item that you'd like to have appraised or featured on our show, please email us at knowyourantiques@gmail.com. Today, we have a very special guest, Pam Setzer, who is the director of the Hamlin Garland Homestead in West Salem, as well as a board member for the West Salem Historical Society. She's going to be talking about the Hamlin Garland house today, and as well as some of the antiques from the inside of the house and some history on the house. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So Pam, how long have you been the director of the Hamlin Garland house?
I have done this for 2 years, and previous to that I worked as a tour guide, and when the position came open they asked me if I would take it, and I was more than happy to do that.
So you were interested right off the bat?
Right off the bat.
Have there been a lot of changes or any changes, significant changes, since you took over as director to the house?
Well, I think the whole idea of maintenance and repair has been really important, and so some things that have been done, both of the back porches have been basically replaced because of, things fall apart. The house is 106,
Sure.
it was built in 1860.
Sure.
And so we've redone the gardens, we've added more period plantings and things, so lots of maintenance.
And when was the house built?
The house was built in 1860, and the Garlands acquired it in 1893 when his mother and father, his father lived out in South Dakota, his mother had had a stroke, and he needed to move his mother and father back here where they had family in West Salem.
Okay. And they lived other places before this, didn't they?
Oh, they started out on the East Coast, in the Boston area, and they moved many times, Iowa, South Dakota, and then ended up back in West Salem.
Okay. So is this home, is it the original home that's built, or have modifications been made or additions been made over the years?
When the house was originally built, it was called the Hayes House, and it only had 3 rooms. And it was used as a millinery store. And when the Garlands bought it, when Hamlin and his brother Frank purchased it, they added on, we now have 15 rooms.
Wow.
So they did a lot of expanding. His mother was wheelchair bound, and so he had to make some things accessible for her. He added bathrooms, he added bay windows, he expanded the dining room and moved the kitchen. He did a lot of reconstruction. He did a lot of the work himself.
Now, it's my understanding that the Hamlin Garland Homestead is open to the public?
Yes, we're open from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and typically our hours are 10 to 4, Monday through Friday, and by special request, of course.
Okay, and is there a fee?
No, we go by donations.
Oh, very nice. I've never been to the Hamlin Garland house, so now I have some place to go and visit. I love visiting old homes and museums.
Mm-hmm.
How many years has the home been open to the public?
It was purchased in 1975 by our current president, Errol Kinchy, and he started the Historical Society, and after a year solid of renovation, mostly by volunteers from the organization, it opened in 76 for tours.
And how many tourists do you think, or visitors do you have a year through the house?
We have around 300, including the second graders from West Salem Elementary. They always come in and they tour all 3 of our historic homes and learn a little bit more about Garland as they go through.
All right. Have you seen an increase or a decrease in the number of tours every year?
I would say when they first opened, there were probably about 1,000 people that would come through. It was very novel at the time, and yeah, I think there was a little more recognition of Garland at the time. People were more familiar with him. But about 300, of course, it would be nice if more people would become familiar with him and his works.
Well, maybe this show will help.
And maybe it will.
And it's good to get the word out. There's so many surrounding towns, and I'm sure a lot of people that haven't visited the house before, myself included, that I think it will pull more people in for you.
Great.
I hope so, anyway. Now, you celebrate Hamlin Garland by doing Hamlin Garland Days.
We do.
And tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we celebrate Hamlin's birthday, and that's in September on the 14th. And what we have is a whole big celebration. We start out, we have speakers, we have pioneer stew, and desserts and things that people can come in. We sit at the original McClintock table, which was his family's table, from his wife's side. We have a memorial service at the cemetery in the evening, which is very touching. We all pick different things that we would like to read from Hamlin's works and wish him a happy birthday. Just a fascinating weekend.
Wonderful. What do you think is one of the most unique things about the homestead?
Well, there are a couple. I think that knowing that Hamlin Garland was born in a rustic log cabin, lived in West Salem, became a famous author, moved around the country, and settled back to West Salem. To have such a small village have a famous author like that, I think is very, very unique. The other thing is that he looked at the Garland homestead as kind of a refuge. He was so busy with the cultural and literal sense out in the East, in Boston and in Chicago, and so he would come there as like a safe haven. And outside the grounds, I still have kind of a country-ish feel. And on the other hand, the inside of the house, he's got some special things in there. For example, the fireplace. There were fireplaces in homes at that time, and he wanted his daughters to experience the whole pioneer aspect of the hearth being the center of the family and center of the home. And so some of those things are unique to the home.
Okay, fantastic. And so you've brought some items with you from the house itself.
Yes.
And some photos today. But we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to let you tell us a little bit about these items and about the pictures.
All right.
All right?
Thank you.
We'll be right back with Know Your Antiques. Welcome back to Know Your Antiques. We have a very special treat for you today. This is our segment called What Is It? So I'm going to give you some basic information on the item, and if you think you know what it is or know a history of the item, please email us at knowyourantiques@gmail.com. So today we have this rather large metal figural item. What is it? I'll give you some clues. Number one, it's definitely Egyptian revival. It has every indication of being Egyptian revival, from the lotus leaves to the falcons to the Egyptian head to the hieroglyphics on the side. 100% Egyptian revival. It's two separate pieces, extremely heavy, and it is hallmarked on the bottom. I believe that these two indentations, round indentations, were meant to hold something. I also believe that there was an insert on the top as well. What is it? You tell me. Email us and let us know what you think. Welcome back to Know Your Antiques. Today our very special guest is Pam Stetzer of the Hamlin Garland Homestead in West Salem. She brought some wonderful items with her from the house, and we're going to go through and tell you a little bit about each one of them. So Pam, why don't you start out with what's your favorite item on the table?
I think maybe this cup here.
Okay.
And this was originally used by Garland's daughters and had been, of course, given away and was returned by the maid's family after they realized what it was.
That's awesome. That's great. I'm sure it's very special to be able to get items back that were originally in the house.
We've been very fortunate to have some of the things come back.
Right. And you have to let us know if any of the rest of the items are original to the house.
Yes.
Let's see. Let me pick one now.
Okay, sure.
I think the little child's boot is really incredible.
Yeah, we have several vintage pairs of shoes and things, and I brought along a button hook also that the girls would use when they were lacing up these very long, tall boots.
Yeah. Is that a girl's boot or a boy's?
This is a girl's.
It's a girl's. Okay. Very nice. Okay. Why don't you go next?
The candlestick here was actually made by Garland. In addition to working on the home, he also did a lot of woodworking and made shelves and different things. And this is one of a set of candlesticks that he made.
Okay. Very arts and crafts style.
Yes.
Nice. Let's see. I have no idea what this is. Does it go on your shin?
No, that would be a sleeve protector. You know, as you know, they used ink and they used fountain pens, and when the ink wasn't quite dry, they wore white shirts, and they would slide that over their
on the
cuffs
writing hand.
to make sure that they stayed clean.
Interesting. Isn't it funny? It's so incredible. Some of the ingenuity they had, practical ingenuity
Very
they had back
practical.
then. Yeah. All righty. What's next?
This was Garland's inkwell, and he, along with this fountain pen that he had, sat on his desk, and we were very fortunate to get that back. And they sit up in his study now.
And tell us a little history on this pot.
Garland was very interested in Native Americans, and he actually spent about 6 months in the Southwest living with them, and was very upset about how they were moved from place to place and forced to live on reservations away from their homeland. And so he wrote several books about the Native Americans, and he also collected many artifacts that were given to him. So we have quite an assortment of pots from the Southwest, as well as rugs, hand-woven rugs and things that he brought with him.
What do you see?
We have a couple of things that are very different. The ladies, of course, had to wear gloves wherever they went. And when these were washed, many of them were light colors and would get soiled. And when they would wash them, they would tend to shrink. And so this is a glove stretcher.
I had to ask what it was when you were taking it out of your box today.
Yes. It looks like a curling iron,
Yes.
but no, it is not. And then they would put this inside each of the fingers and stretch them back to shape.
Wow. I would imagine, because that's made of, it looks like tortoise shell or celluloid, one of the two. But I would imagine that not a lot of those lasted. If you won too hard a push and it would snap it, probably.
I would think so. I would think so. And it looks like the mechanism is quite fragile. So
Right. So we don't push too hard on it.
no.
All righty. Let me guess. Is this a sock darner?
No, this is a top.
I am wrong. We're so wrong.
Both of Hamlin's daughters were born while he was coming back and forth to the homestead. And they had lots of little toys and things. We were lucky to have some of their original dolls and the little cradle that belonged to the girls, as well as some of their other little things like the top.
Nice. And this, you said this is original to
Yes.
the daughters. And the top. And then these would probably almost go together. They'd be on the ladies'
Yes.
table.
They would be. These are in his mother's room. And the hat pin, of course, the ladies always wore hats. And I was always amazed at how long these were. But given the big hats that they wore, and plus the very flamboyant hairdos they sometimes had, I suppose it needed to be that long to go through the hat
Sure.
and fit through the hair.
It's very like the Gibson girl hairstyles.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And the other thing, this is a hair receiver. And as the women would comb their hair and the hair would fall out, they would put it in here and then use it to make hair pieces.
Or
Yes.
death weaves.
Yes.
Braids.
Yes, we don't have one of them in the home, but some of the very elaborate wreaths and things,
And jewelry, they make jewelry
the
out of it.
brooches that they made would also come from their loved one's
Right.
hair.
Wow. Alrighty, so let's go on to back here. You brought a lot of pictures of the homestead.
Yes.
Can you tell us, if you want to get up and you can start wherever you want with the pictures, and then tell us a little bit about them, starting maybe with the house itself.
The home itself, nice picture of in the summer. We tried to keep as close to what the house looked like originally. Lots of fencing. They had lots of vines over there, flower beds and things, but nothing real elaborate. It was more of a country kind of feel and country kind of home. And of course, this is Hamlin Garland in his younger years and also as he aged. Okay.
He has a strong resemblance to Mark Twain.
Yes, he does, and people have noticed that. They often will guess when they're looking up, for example, in the living room when you first come into the home, they will ask if that's Mark Twain. And no, that's Hamlin Garland. Some of the things that you see on his desk here, like the inkwell, are some of the things that I brought today. This is where he sometimes would do a little bit of writing, and of course the fireplace that he put in because he wanted that to be the centerpiece of this room. Some of the little things that he has, we have a typewriter. This was not his, but it was identical to the one that he used. And the movie projector, some of his movies in the 20s were expected to be made into film. And so he moved with his family out to California. However, because of the Depression and everything happening, that did not happen. But he still enjoyed home movies, and we have a few of those also that we look at. Moving into the music room here, the Garlands, all of them were very musical and also very artsy. And so his daughter painted the painting of the homestead from what she remembered as a child. And there were always either an organ, a piano, a player piano, something in the home. Sure. In July, we decorate all of our 3 historic homes for Christmas. And this is the bay window that Garland built and decorated for Christmas. And his daughters used to string up a line across here with a curtain, and they would perform plays inside of the bay.
I understand that this house had one of the first bathrooms in West Salem?
Yes, it did. This is our downstairs bathroom, and we actually have 2 bathrooms. But yes, they had the first bathrooms in West Salem. They also had the first lawnmower and the first lawn tennis court.
And let's move to maybe, we have time for maybe one more room or a few more pictures.
Let's look at this one down here if that's possible. This room we use as a museum, and the Barrister case actually houses 48 of his 52 books that he wrote.
Okay.
And the trunk that you can see just in the corner there was used by the McClintocks as they traveled across the country. That was part of the family.
Okay.
We could look at the dining room quickly. This is the original table that the McClintocks had, and that's where they ate all of their meals. The organ also they brought with them from the east by covered wagon.
Can I ask, how did you get the table back? Because I'm under the impression that a lot of the things were gone out of the house when you acquired it.
There was a fire in 1912, and some things burned. Some things, as they moved, were passed on to either family or sold. And so people would bring things back to us when they found out that the restoration was happening. We would get cards and letters saying that we have this, would you like it back?
That's
so we
amazing.
were very lucky. The dinner bell is also original. The cook or the maid would make all the meals, and then she would call the family in to have meals in the dining room.
Well, thank you, Pam. This has been educational and amazing. In the 60s and 70s were such a popular time for raising old homes, getting rid of them, knocking old buildings down, because Victorian wasn't in style, in flavor. And now it's great to see that our old homes and our historic sites are being preserved now, being renovated.
Yes.
So we want to thank you so much for coming out today. And
thank you for having me.
And maybe you can come back again sometime.
I would love it.
All righty. From Know Your Antiques, my name's Rob Jones. Have a great day. And if you or someone you know has an antique or a collection that you'd like to feature on our show, you can contact us at knowyourantiques@gmail.com. Have a great day.